Hi everyone. Hi Debasmita.
Hello. Hi, Sangeeta. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Very excited.
Yes, so we're just going to give it another 1 or 2 minutes to let people
Sure.
join in.
Sure.
Meanwhile, everyone who's joining in, if you can hear us, could you give us a thumbs up in the comments below, please?
You can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. This is just to make sure
Thank you.
we're audible to everyone else.
Yes.
So, again, for people who didn't get that, if you can hear us, please give us a thumbs up. Okay, thank you, Renuka. Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, great. Loud and clear. Okay, great. So I guess
Cool.
we're good to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you so much for joining us, Debasmita, and thank you to everyone who is joining right now to tune in to this lovely book talk. We will be chatting with Debasmita Dasgupta, who is the illustrator of Tulika's newest book, which is Jokhu and the Big Scare, which I'm very excited to talk about. And I have to tell you, I really love the illustrations. And I know Jokhu is supposed to be scary, but she's a really cute monster, or Jokini, as I have to say. She's extremely adorable. Um, but before that, a little introduction about Debasmita. So Debasmita is an illustrator, and she's worked on fiction and non-fiction picture books, poetry, animation videos, graphic novels. Her work's been showcased globally in places like Italy, Denmark, Singapore, and a bunch of other places. She's also a screenwriter, and she's been an art fellow with the National Art Strategies in the US and Royal Society of Arts in the UK. So very privileged and happy to be talking to you today, Debasmita.
My
Welcome to
pleasure.
Book Talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. It's always nice to hear nice things about yourself, right?
Well deserved, but I must say very well
Thank you.
deserved. And I think just to kind of kick things off, so with Jokhu and the Big Scare, so I know when Tulika reached out to you to kind of do the illustrations on this book, and your response was, "Who could say no to a sweet and humorous Jokini?" So first off, I mean, the assumption is that you were familiar with the world of Jokhu. I mean, of Jokinis and Jokus. So could you tell us, what was your point of being familiar with the whole concept of a Jokini, and what were stories that maybe you had heard?
Sure. So first of all, what happened was when I read the script, and usually it's always you start with the script, right? And the credit goes to Priyadarshini because she has written it so beautifully. She already, created Jokini or Joko in front of me in the most sweetest, cutest, monstrous way. So the words definitely created the magic, the first magic. Coming to the point of my familiarity with Jokinis, or how we call them in Bengali. So Priyadarshini is from Assam and I'm from West Bengal. And, we have these children's books where we have read about Jokinis and Rakhoshis and Rakhosh, Kokhosh, Dakini, Jogini, all these things, And I grew up reading about all of those, in Thakur Marjuli, there's this famous book in Bengali literature that most of the kids, Bengali kids, have read. And you had all these stories about these monsters who are was supposed to be scary, but somehow, even as a kid, I was never scared of them. I wanted to hear more about their stories. In fact, I related more to them than
Okay.
that is. So I think there is this whole concept of not being perfect and having a lot of flaws in you and yet accepting it and ready to learn from circumstances, ready to change according to circumstances is something which as a child it stays with you at your maybe at a subconscious level, but as you grow up, as you go mature, you understand those details. You go deeper and realize these things and absorb these things, and you understand why you love these characters so much more than the perfect characters.
No, and I love that you kind of brought in that whole cultural context of this, right? With you and what you and Priyadarshini have done, with this book, it's so evident also when you read it. It's like right there. So how do then, regional influences play a role, for you when you're illustrating a book? How do you kind of go about then saying that, okay, this is how much of, culture I want to infuse, but at the same time, you don't want to alienate it to people. You just want to make it just right where they're understanding the content and context of it through the
Hmm.
illustrations, of course. So how do you kind of go about that?
So, see, the first thing is any story which is very local, which is very rooted,
Yeah.
will always have a global appeal because
Yeah.
people want to know about other cultures, right? You don't want to just see yourself, you want to see others. And that is how, a healthy world is going to have that kind of culture. So when I write something, it comes very naturally to me. When I create something, any illustration, the cultural influences are very natural. The things that I saw when I was growing up in Bengali literature, in Bengali paintings. When I started illustrating, the biggest inspiration for me was this Bengali painter called Jamini Roy. And Jamini Roy always used to draw, these big eyes. And I had that, when I was growing up and looking at the Durga Puja, usually the Durga Murtis will have those big eyes. They stayed with me. So it comes very naturally to me when I started drawing. I did not know how else to draw eyes. It was always, the first thing was like, oh, big eyes like this. And then people started telling me, oh, that's your signature style. But it was so organic. So I like those kind of cultural influences which comes naturally to you. They're not imposed on you. And this is the best thing about children's books, right? As a child, when you read these things, when you read visuals, you get these messages. They stay with you. But at the same time, you also um, know that at some point when you grow up, you will realize them in a different way. So
Yeah.
that's the beauty of children's books. Like you can go back and you can revisit those books as adults, and you will find a new meaning,
Yeah.
which perhaps when you were a child you couldn't understand. You were just absorbing it. So yeah.
No, that's very true. Because when I was just thinking of books that I keep going back to, also like things I read as a child, and now when I go back to it, I end up taking something different from it altogether. But the interesting thing again about Jokhu and the Big Scare is it's a lot. It's basically this relationship in a sense about Jokhu the Jokini and this little girl who kind of comes into her life, and Jokhu can't seem to scare this girl. That's the basic premise. But having said that, and since a Jokini is traditionally or perceived to be a scary being, right? How do you then go about illustrating a character like this for a children's book? Because you don't want to scare off your readers, because they're essentially kids. You want them to kind of connect to the story, read it, and take in the illustrations and the culture of it. But at the same time, you don't want to kind of throw them off. So how do you find that balance, and how do you go about kind of illustrating characters like this, which are supposed to be in a I guess, darker zone, so to speak?
Hmm. It's an interesting question because there are many things involved in it. There are things which are done alone, like only by me, my visualization. At the same time, any picture book is created as a teamwork. So I would also like to give credit to Team Tolika, with the constant conversations that I had with Bhavna or Dia, that how we make this character child friendly, even though she's supposed to be scary, but she should also have those layers in her. And there were many sketches. Jokhu was not created with just one sketch. Of course, there were some ideas in me, the eyes and the facial expressions were already there. Those didn't change. But for example, the hair, I had a certain kind of hair in mind, and then we talked much more, and then we thought, okay, we could make the hair look like this. So the point I'm trying to say here is that these characters are not created by one person. It's always a teamwork, and that's the beauty of it, that it's not one person's vision all the time. At the same time, the most interesting thing is that when you create these quirky characters, they're more fun.
Yeah.
There are all those perfect characters with perfect hair and perfect face and everything. But who likes those characters? They're boring. Joker is much more fun, She has big nails and big teeth, and yet she's funny. And she becomes funny towards the end of the story. She becomes more and more funny. So yeah, I feel that's much more fun to create these characters. And it comes naturally. I think when you love your characters, when you love what you create, it kind of gets reflected through the work that you create, right? It,
Yeah.
it's normal. I mean, if you don't like the character, first of all, I will not illustrate a character that I don't like or I can't relate to. So
Oh.
this is definitely a character that I loved and I wanted to create it. At the same time, when you create something with so much love, you know that that love is going to show up in some form, even though it's the most scariest monster in the world.
No, but it's true. It does show in the book because, like I said, even though Jokhu is supposed to be a scary character, she's actually very endearing, you know.
Yes.
Because when I saw the illustrations the first time, I said, "Oh my God, she's such an adorable Jokhu." You know, I can't imagine being scared of her, which is so true. It really comes across. Even the way you've just done the detailing is just amazing. But yeah, you know, having said that, because of the color palette you chose and stuff, it's you've not made it too ominous either. You've kind of kept it
Hmm.
just right where it comes through that it's not too scary, but it's friendly enough to kind of access and you get it, which I loved. But also one of the other things, what I really liked and what I read when I was kind of researching about you, you said that people who appreciate your work are fond of bright colors, big eyes, and shining smiles, which again you mentioned just now. So how do you develop a signature style as an illustrator?
Uh, so there's a combination of different things over there, you know. You don't, first of all, you don't create a signature style very consciously. It comes to you as you develop your art, right? And the first answer is practice. The more you draw, you will see, you know, first you start with some inspiration. Sometimes you even copy some, you know, some illustrators who you love, but over a period of time, when you continue with that journey, you will find yourself in it, your presence in it. And that visual style of yours is a very natural thing. It's a natural progress. Like, you know, for example, when you go to school, you first learn alphabets,
Yeah.
which is for everybody, right? But then slowly you learn to write sentences and then you write your sentence. You start creating your words. That becomes you, that becomes a part of you. So, this is a very natural process of learning in general. So, you don't force yourself to develop a style, but the more you get involved in this solar system, you know, there are so many influences and they come. And then finally you find your orbit and you know that this is where I want to just, you know, expand and learn from others, yet retaining my core existence. So that's how I feel that I have also developed. I mean, there have been many influences, like I said about Jamini Roy, even like, for example, Persepolis, Marjan Satrapi's illustrations. They have a huge influence on me. The way of storytelling that she has. There's so many, you know, artists out there that you learn from. Yet you also find your voice somewhere, and that gets reflected through your work over a period of time. It doesn't happen overnight, but yeah, with practice and with learning.
Yeah. No, and I think it really comes through in a lot of your work where I think even you very rightly said you have that sort of specific style of the big eyes and you know, the colors, and it's so vivid. I think the characters you create, which is really cool because it just stays also with, you know, readers and whoever's consuming that content, which is amazing. Um, you know, coming more towards I think the work that, you know, you're doing. So I know you started an online platform called My Father Illustrations, where you know you share illustrations based on, you know, true stories or incidents of fathers defending, you know, their daughters' rights and, you know, kind of encouraging them and empowering them. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, My Father Illustrations is a project which is very close to my heart. And even though I don't illustrate anymore, I don't get the bandwidth to, you know, do it. But okay, the whole idea is before becoming a full-time author illustrator, I used to work in the international development sector. So I had worked from the grassroots to, you know, to strategy level work. And I have dealt with different kind of subject matters, right? One of the issues was always child rights, women's rights. And something very significant when I used to go and work in the field, especially, was that you're talking about women's empowerment and the room is full of women. There are no men. So how do you actually have a conversation when you see, first, you alienate the men, second, the men are not interested because they think this is a women's conference, and third, most of the time we see men as the perpetrators of violence. So if you propagate that idea, then how are you going to bring a positive change? If you don't share the positive role models, how do you expect that positive change is going to come? So, all those things were somehow inside me. And then my father, my own father, is very close to me. And I came across some stories in life that I felt like my part of the job was to share those stories with the world. And that's how my father illustration started. And trust me, like the kind of stories that I found out through this platform, just by just working and researching on stories, those are incredible stories from different parts of the world. And I just always felt that I'm a vehicle. I just want to share these stories because these stories need to be heard. These role models need to be celebrated. And that was the idea. And that's how my father illustrations came into existence. And it continued for a very, very long time. It inspired me more than, I don't know if it had inspired anybody else, but it certainly inspired me in many, many ways.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely initiative. And, kind of again coming back to characters, because again, if I had to again come back and talk about Jokhu and the big scare, though it is on the outside, it looks like this really fun story of a Jokini trying to kind of scare a girl. It's actually a lot deeper when you go in, because it's more to, there are a lot of things. I don't want to give away too much. I highly recommend picking up the book, because it's really lovely to see these two girls kind of just come together in a way, right? And the relationship they share in this story, which is lovely. So I clearly see what you mean by having trying to kind of incorporate certain things, and especially through children's literature, which is great. So lastly, you are an art for change advocate. How do you think art can create change for social causes, and are there experiences or stories that you can share?
So, yes, and a lot of people call me that art for change advocate. I just feel that I'm a storyteller. That's it. I'm not out there to bring a big change. And what I feel over a period of time, I have realized that change is a process, and my own, my work or my contribution is not going to bring that change. What it will do to me is, I want to be a part of this. I want to participate. I don't want to be an inactive or outsider. I want to be inside it. I want to be a contributor to this process of change. And in doing so, if change happens, then that gives me that happiness. And it reminds me, when you're talking about stories, there's a story which is very close to my heart. And I heard it many times from many people in different versions, but I want to share this story just to share what change means to me. So once there was a fire in the forest, and all the big animals were running away. The forest is on fire, so everybody's running away. The big elephant, the giant animals, everybody running away. And then suddenly they spot a little bird going towards the forest. So this lion stops the bird and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the bird says, "Oh, I'm carrying a drop of water in my beak, to extinguish the fire." So all the animals start making fun of the bird and they say, "Are you crazy? Like, your drop of water is not going to extinguish that fire." But the bird said, "Well, I'm just doing my bit."
Hmm.
So I want to be that bird, and just want to do my bit. I'm not there to change the world. I don't think my alone's work is going to change the world. But I would definitely like to share the stories that I believe in, that have inspired me, and I feel that can inspire many others. And one positive story can create another positive story with that aim, with that idea. I just want to tell stories. That's it.
Yeah, and that's truly lovely. And finally, um, what do you want readers to take away from Jokhu and the Big Scare. I wish we had Priyadarshini with us, but we do have her
Yes.
on Saturday, which we'll talk a little bit after this. So, what do you want readers to take from Jokhu and the Big Scare?
Well, the first thing is fun. Just enjoy this book. Don't read it with, or don't see this book with
Yeah.
any sort of, baggages that, oh, I have to understand. Nothing. It's fun. It's absolute fun. So just enjoy the fun. Get on the joy ride with Jokhu and the little girl. And once you have already absorbed that fun for many, many times, then probably you can go a little below, go deeper and try to see what is not directly visible. There are many such things in there, in small packages. They're not evidently in your face, but they are there. They're there, and it will take some time to understand, to unfold those details and go into the, those zones to understand what is there, not directly told in your face, but is definitely going to stay with all of us for a very long time.
And I completely agree with that. I just want to show everyone the illustration once more because this is just adorable. This is so cute. Even the little girl. Just amazing. So please do pick up this book, guys. It's a very sweet story. The illustrations are lovely. And having said that, this is not the end. Debasmita and Priyadarshini will be joining us for a Zoom session on Saturday, 5 p.m. IST. You can register. The link is in Tulika's bio. So please go ahead, check it out, register, join us for the session. We're going to be talking, of course, about the book, and it's going to be a fun session. So please be there.
Yes.
And thank you so much for being here, Debasmita. It was absolutely lovely talking to you. And can't wait to see you on Saturday.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. Thank you, the team Tulika, and thank you for everybody who joined this session. It means a lot to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, Debasmita.
Bye.